the village of Valanby. At first look, just another village with livestock, farms, and fish. But the plains surrounding the village made it perfect for raising one of the most valuable resources for nobles and peasants alike: horses. Required in every aspect of work and war. And the horses of Valanby were renowned as some of the greatest war mounts in all of Calradia. It was here a young Lancelot de Graveth was born. His father, a baron's retainer for the noble Baron Aldrich of Clan de Tyr. During times of war, he rode in the baron's retinue. In peace, he was tasked with protecting the village and training new knights. From morning until dusk, both men and mounts could be seen training on the plains. As a child, Lancelot's days were full, from feeding and watering horses to cleaning out the stables. But it was not long before he found himself in the saddle. He took to riding as a bird to flight, and could often be found fighting battles in his imagination on the back of one of his father's old sumpter horses. One evening, word of roaming bandit parties spread through the village, causing panic. The Baron and his men, including Lancelot's father, were off at war. The few squires that had been left behind decided to ride out and face the threat. As they were preparing their mounts in the stables, Lancelot approached and asked to join the group. He was young, but the men had seen him ride, and the situation was desperate. It was agreed to let him come, and so the young squires and the young Lancelot rode out.
Hey, you! Where you got in your bags? What are you carrying?
The mission of this playthrough, should you choose to accept it, is to bring about the Kingdom of Swadia. You'll see the national animal is the lion right there on that shield with that sweet-ass burnt orange. Swadia is a warband faction, and what a faction indeed, led by King Harlus of House de Graveth, and they were known for their excellent shock and heavy cavalry. I mean, really, really amazing heavy cavalry. If you never got to experience the miracle of the Swadian knight, it was the definition of OP and just a blast to use. You'll see right here it states, Swadian troops rely mainly on the strength of their knights to power through all enemy formations. And that's exactly what we're going to do. The main rule for this playthrough is going to be cavalry-only field army. You can stuff crossbowmen and infantry in your fiefs, but your field army is 100% banner knights. On top of that, we're going to apply rank restrictions that will unfold as the story goes on. We're going to do these boys justice and honor the mountain blade fire that they started in my heart that can never be extinguished. The success of Lancelot and the squires was the talk of the town. And when the Baron and his father returned, Lancelot was put in charge of a small group of squires who were tasked to ride down bandits within the Baron's territory. Young horsemen from all over Vlandia, eager to earn their knighthood, flocked to ride with Lancelot and his men. Clan Tier 0 to Clan Tier 1, bandit parties and tournaments only. Also, you can only recruit and run around with squires. And the nice thing about these squires is, for that 3 gold daily wage, they actually punch pretty well above their weight. If you happen to find gallants available, you can recruit them, but no upgrading. We're sticking with the squires, bandits, tournaments to Clan Tier 1. Success after success in both battle and tournaments caused Lancelot's name to grow. But a new threat had arrived on the shores of Vlandia. Sea Raiders. These Northmen were heavily armored and skillful warriors. Squires would be no match for them. The men would need war horses and armor, which meant Lancelot needed gold. He approached the Baron Aldrich with a plan. A request for a mercenary contract was granted, and young Lancelot also received his knighthood. No longer would he just lead groups of squires. He would build one of the finest groups of knights the kingdom had ever seen. Here's the rules from Clan Tier 1 to Clan Tier 2. You must get a mercenary contract through Vlandia. We're going to be hitting those bandit parties still, but now we really want to focus on Sea Raiders, Sea Raider camps, okay? And we keep pumping the tournaments. No attacking enemy armies unless they're in Vlandia territory. We're making our name and we're building up our company of knights, crushing Sea Raiders. And feel free to go ahead and upgrade away. Whatever you think you can support, upgrade them all the way up to Banner Knights. The whole goal of this mercenary phase is to build that elite company of knights. Lancelot and his knights charged into group after group of Sea Raiders and crushed them all. Both the nobles and peasants sang his praises for the security he had brought to the kingdom. Word soon reached the king's ear, who summoned the young knight to Talavel Castle to swear fealty in exchange for vassalage. It was a dream come true, and soon the knights who rode under the banner of the Lion became renowned and feared. You farm your mercenary contract until King Durthert requests for you to meet him to offer you vassalage. And then as soon as you get that request, you go see him and you accept that vassalage. Now, at this stage, whatever clan tier you're at or wherever you're at, the whole goal is to fight the enemies of Vlandia, both bandits and other factions, in order to build up 400 influence. 2 restrictions in this phase: no sieges. You're to avoid sieges at all cost. And of course, you can break sieges. You can attack enemy armies that are hitting a keep or something, but not in a siege. And number 2, you cannot accept any fiefs. Your whole goal is to prove yourself worthy so that you can receive a fief within Vlandian territory. That's what you want. You want Vlandian territory. You don't want some fief on the outskirts of Barbarian town. All right? So, wait till you get summoned to become a vassal, farm 400 influence, no sieges, no fiefs. If a castle or town is given to you during this phase, just come into the fiefs tab and you can give it away. It was at a gathering of nobles in Pravend that Lancelot, by the laws of Vlandia, forced a vote for the fief of Drapen Castle. for he saw it as a fitting reward for all he had done for the realm. But all the other nobles united against him. Lancelot realized he would never be seen as an equal. Any lands he would be given would be in some distant territory. He would never receive a piece of his home. And so he revoked his oath and set out to find a way to take what he was owed. At this stage of the campaign, we take our 400 influence we farmed and we spend it to put Drapen Castle up for vote, which should have been rightfully given to us. And when it is not, we forsake King Durthert and his cronies. It has long been known that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so when Lancelot approached the Battanian king Caladog, he was eager to accept Lancelot and his knights into service. Under their furious charge, the foes of Battania were broken, and many of the stolen Battanian fiefs and keeps were reclaimed. It wasn't long before Lancelot was able to convince the grateful lords of Battania to strike west, deep into the fertile and rich lands of the Vlandians they despised. The nobles of Vlandia would be made to suffer for their arrogance, and their pride would be broken. Lancelot gathered an army of his knights and Battanian warriors and marched deep into enemy territory, right up to the gates of the jewel of Vlandia, Pravend. And after a brutal and bloody siege, the town was taken. And with a firm foothold established and supply lines secured, it was not long before the prize of Drapen Castle was rightfully taken. The town of Oxhall and Varikscan Castle were the next to fall. With the territories taken and fortified, Caladog made Lancelot Warden of the West, where he was to ensure Vlandian armies were defeated long before they reached Battanian lands. While you're in the service of Caladog, the goals are to farm to clan tier level 5, also to play into the Warden of the West theme. Let's go ahead and enact this noble retinue so that when you get to clan tier 5, you get an extra 40 troops. Make sure you pass that. And while you're working on that, just make sure you fortify your lands. So you'll see, cut my enemies in half here. Divide, and you know what. But the Warden in the West eventually had no need for the king in the East. Now, with his rightful land secured, he would become their rightful ruler. And those who did not submit would be broken by the charge of the Lion of Swadia. And here he is, the Lion of Swadia, King Lancelot of Clan de Graveth. Let's take a little look at Handsome. Here's the build. Going 10 in riding. I just haven't got my athletics high enough yet. I usually level my athletics in sieges, but I just can't stop plowing over people in field battles, so I never really got it leveled up. But I'm almost there. Here's an extra vigor attribute. Here's that extra endurance that's going to take me to 10. The whole goal, getting this riding all the way up for maximum charge damage. Just want to absolutely blast through anything in my way. Got the polearm, got the one-handed, grab some leadership, roguery, and engineering, just because it was easy for me to level and I could never find a damn engineer this whole playthrough. Now I know I can get to going on talents because I love Bannerlord and I love talking builds. But hear me when I tell you the most important talent in this entire playthrough is right here. Combat tips. This allows you to recruit troops one tier higher from your same culture. And when it comes to the noble tree here, starting at squires at tier 2, to get up to tier 3, you need a war mount. And it will cost you a lot of war mounts to level these squires up all the way to banner knights. But right here, from squire to gallant, is where you need that war mount to level them. So right away, they need a war mount. But you can see here, with that trait, you'll be able to recruit knights that come already on a war horse. And they're only 50 to 150 gold more expensive than the squire. When you take into account the war mount price, that's a hell of a deal. So throw at least one focus point in leadership as quickly as possible and get this combat tips ability, because this will save you a ton of money in war mounts. When it comes to gear, crown like a king, got the shoulders with the cape, giving it that nice sexy flow while we're charging in. This is actually a crap chest piece. I mean, the armor's awful. And there's a great one that you can get in Vlandian towns, but I can't get it to spawn for the life of me. So I looked everywhere. I kept going to town to check. I've got more than enough money to buy it, but I just couldn't get it to spawn. So there's one with 50 plus body armor that I've been looking for. But to be honest, this has been fine. I don't get touched a lot. Got the mail mittens and the mail boots. Gives it that nice clean look. I went ahead and used a mace. One of the issues when you're fighting amongst a bunch of cavalry is that you're wedged next to each other. And a really long weapon is kind of hard to hit people with. It sounds weird, but having that shorter mace is really nice for just popping the guys right next to you. If you have a long sword, sometimes it catches on the mounts around you. I had a lot more success with this when we were all standing on top of a bunch of infantrymen, reaching down and popping them on the head with this thing. Plus, you'll see it's a masterwork mace, so that's 67 blunt damage along with some one-handed skill. You are taking out even heavily armored infantry troops fall pretty quickly to this thing. Then, of course, we've got the cavalry kite shield. And the key piece here, the heavy knight lance, I was able to find a balanced one. Look at that, 42 pierce. Incredible. You will rip through armies with this thing. And look at this beauty, the Royal Destrier. This mount is the best charge mount in the game. Look at that charge damage right there. 36 damage, 270 hit points. You see the 52 speed and you get worried, but remember, when you level up your riding, you get more horse speed. So don't worry about the speed. What we're looking for is that charge damage. With this build, your horse is a powerful weapon. And especially when you've got one of these Royal Destriers, aka the Royal Destroyer. And then you just come over here and throw a charge damage banner on it. You are going to trample your enemies. You'll see the damage in the battle play here in just a second. This is the build that you're looking for. Max that riding, get you a Royal Destroyer, get you a banner. There's one for 30% if you can find it. So I'd want the 30% banner and a better chest piece. But other than that, King Lancelot's looking pretty good here. And now a demonstration of the power of Swadia. Me and the boys getting to work.
Next to me.
Gentlemen, shall we?
Bounce! Attack!
Enough with the setting up on a hill and archers. And I like to set my guys in lines of 3 and break them apart and all this bullshit. You know what I like to do? I like to get in here and get to work. Always on that Bannerlord difficulty, of course. Now you can roll out here and help take out some of the enemy cavalry. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. Everything on this battlefield is yours to destroy. I could get them before they get up on this hill and get situated here. Look at the damage going out just by running into shit. Look at this. The lance is secondary to the power of the Royal Destroyer. You don't give a shit. I will plow through you, your mom, whatever the fuck I want. Don't be afraid to ride the lightning, baby. This is where it can get a little challenging to fit in. When the boys are all mashed up. Let you just come in here, do what you can. If you get piled in or they get on a hill and you get all stuck up, sometimes it's better to just get your one-hander out and pile in there with them, or if you need to level it up a little. But you can also just come out here, smash shit with your mount, just run through them, lance what you can, but if you miss, it don't matter. Look at the damage going up. Oh, nice. The archers are all lined up. Now, when you get an archer line like this lined up, this is when it gets kind of fun. Because you can just come in here. Like that. So much fun. So much fun. That's what it's all about. Oh, they're really playing it out here. What the hell are you guys doing? Let's go, fellas. Just keep wearing them down. Just hit them with that horse blunt damage. Hell yeah. Look at the boys. Look at the Swadian Knights representing. And now, you have witnessed the rise of Swadia. Grab your lance, mount your steed, and trample your enemies beneath your feet. It's the Swadian way. Have a blast. Oklahoma out.